Okay, it's come to my attention an extremely interesting title. Let's investigate further and see what this lovely gentleman has to say. I am a big fan of RadRat's videos. He's very well researched in
Okay,
general.
I know what you're
So
thinking.
let's see.
This is just clickbait. This is going to lead nowhere. But I promise you, there's some actual evidence that skateboarding may have come from the Nazis. I was as surprised as you are, and I'll tell you all about it.
I'm just trying to think in my mind, how is this remotely going to tie together? And I have absolutely no idea. This guy's roots is kind of like freestyle skating.
Welcome back
like
to
video
RadRat
game
Video
skating,
Channel.
I
You can
guess.
learn new things about skateboarding. I talk about all kinds of different things on the channel, from teaching tricks, talking about skateboarding topics, skateboarding video games, and some.
I hate how soulless the lighting is. I feel like the lighting is the representation of this guy. I feel like the lighting ties in well.
Sometimes something
if
just
I'm
kind of
honest.
weird, like if Nazis are responsible for skateboarding, which is pretty crazy. So to recap what I've talked about on the channel so far, way back in Ask RadRat 56, I think it was. This was about 2 years ago.
Sharp
I talked
jawline.
about the history of skateboarding, like
Nice
the first
compliment.
commercial skateboards, how far back you can go, and seeing the first kid actually riding around on a skateboard. So the history
I think one thing Nazis did invent, if I recall, I think it was Fanta. I think we could look that up, but I think the drink Fanta, like 100% was. But I could be wrong on
we
that.
all know is in California sometime in the 60s or so. There were
Should I
kids
Google
who were
it?
taking the wheels off their skates and putting them on 2x4s and they were riding them around. So I looked into that a bit. In 61 and 62, there started to be commercially available skateboards.
Yeah,
that looked
Fanta was
like
invented in Nazi
actual
Germany during
skateboards
World War
that
II
were shaped, customized
by Max
to,
Keith, head
skate
of
around
Coca-Cola
on.
Deutschland.
You go back a little bit further.
I mean, I guess this doesn't mean
and
they
you start to
invented
get kids doing that themselves, just doing it in their garage, making their own skateboards and stuff like that. And you try to think about, like, who could have been the first one who did it? Let's look at it. Let's try to figure out the right guy. Let's find some story about a kid who did it first. But we're still actually way off.
Adidas is making stuff for the Nazis? Yeah, I mean, and BMW and
which took
Volkswagen.
place in 1944 in France.
I think.
Someone named Betty
Alleged. I don't know.
Magnuson saw some kids in the Montmartre section of Paris, France, riding around on homemade skateboards in 1944. And that was a big shock to me and a lot of people in the comments too. They didn't realize that skateboarding was actually being done in Europe in the 40s.
Tell you what's crazy, in 1944, my grandma is 19 years old. And my grandma is 99 years old, currently still alive right now. That's kind of true.
Which was pretty crazy. And of course, there was stuff before that. There was scooters came before that. There were scooters that you could take the handlebar off of and stuff like that. But to be a skateboard, it's kind of tougher to define, right? Because you got to be able to turn on it.
Maybe she invented
without the use
skating.
of handlebars. You got to be able to ride it around like you would think.
Yeah,
you
that's
can
why
on
I'm
a
going to
skateboard. You
Australia
should
for
be
her
able to
100th
lean and turn
birthday
and stuff like that.
in May.
So that stuff didn't really count. But with the skates,
You just blew my mind. Well, yeah, if she's 100 in 2025, I guess she was born in 25, right? Or 20, yeah.
trucks on them. That was a real skateboard in 1944. And that was really interesting. And in that video, I said that if you knew of anything earlier, send it to me. And I was going to make a finished video about that at some point in the future. I forgot that I ever said that. I was surprised when I watched that back just now, but I never did that. But I did finally get a tip.
See, like, if RadRat made these, like, talking head videos more compelling, like, overlay footage, boom, 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 maybe a little bit tighter script, I felt like his channel could really pop off. He kind of, like, had an era where his channel was successful, and then he kind of, like, slowed way down. I think only recently he started to, like, revive it again. But see, his thumbnail's pretty good. He's, like, a little bit too skate-focused, I guess. But, like, I think he's just doing it for what he wants. But it's, like... I mean, this video is a little more mainstream appeal. But in general, his videos are very niche, like, super focused to even only a small set of skaters.
Named Fernando. He sent me an email where he found an article on the Red Bull site, although it's in Spanish only. I wasn't able to find an English version. He wasn't either. But it talks about how this guy named Joseph Goebel...
I think talking about shit like this just gives fuel to hopeless haters who are always looking for random dots to connect as a way to justify hating, dehumanizing others. This title, did Nazis invent skateboards? I don't know. like, I feel like it doesn't really matter if the answer is yes or no. It's just, like he's saying, everyone had the idea to make a skateboard out of the crate, but who did it first, I guess, is the technical inventor. Is my grandma excited we're getting married? Yes, she is. It's a little bit sad that she can't attend the wedding if it's, obviously she's not getting on a plane and coming to America. But it will be very nice to see her soon.
And to get you up to date with this guy, horrible Nazi dude, really high up, and I'll actually read the first part of his bio. A German Nazi politician and
what the heck?
Reich Minister of Propaganda in Nazi Germany from 1933 to 1945. He was one of Adolf Hitler's closest and most devoted associates.
What the heck?
That was known for his skills in public speaking and his deeply virulent anti-Semitism, which was evident in his publicly voiced views. He advocated progressively harsher discrimination, including the extermination of the Jews in the Holocaust. So This guy was actually pressuring Hitler to do even worse things than he already was. Just a horrible waste of human flesh. And he actually became the Chancellor of Germany for a day after Hitler killed himself, but before he also died and maybe killed himself too. I don't know. I didn't get into the World War II history, just the skateboarding history part of it. Where does this dude...
You can tell that he's uncomfortable.
...fit into skateboarding history? Well, his kids were shredders. So... there's some footage of some high-up Nazi dude that came over to his house in 1943. It's a year before that French account from before. In 1943, and it shows his kids riding what looks like a skateboard down their slide. Take a look at this.
What? How does he get this? Video read the Owen von Mull. Magda Goebbels. What? How did he get this footage? I mean, it looks low-key pretty good quality. Is this shot on film? I mean, it must be, right? It's his home movies.
So here's the thing. That looks like
yeah, but I mean, how did that dude's home movies kid out? I guess there's a bunch of different ways.
Like a scooter with the handlebars taken off. It doesn't look like anything else. It's got a flat board part. It's got smaller skateboard size wheels, not like the big off-road tires on like a wagon or something like that.
Just was confirmed that Hitler didn't kill himself, by the way. Documents were unclassified. He fled to Argentina, lived 2 more decades, and had 2 daughters. I saw that on some social media thing, but I wasn't sure if that was rage bait or if that was real, if that was confirmed or what. It seems like extremely big revelation if it is confirmed. I feel like you read so much crazy shit in this modern age, it's really hard to tell what's true or not. But I mean, that's absolutely wild if it's true.
That it looks like a real skateboard. It looks like a normal skateboard. And it's just, where would this thing have come from? And that's the article on RadRat.
I feel like that's the state of 2025. Everything's apparently confirmed. Like, what happened with the JFK? Did that reveal any interesting things?
It says that it might have been something called a flexi racer, which were popular in the 30s. And this is what that looks like. And yeah, on this thing you have to...
You reckon I could kickflip that? Probably, to be honest. It looks like you could get enough kick. Look at this pic of the kid on it. Wow, it's literally a boogie board. I guess maybe those would hit if I tried to kickflip it.
Lie down on it face first and ride like the kids were going down that slide. But there's these handlebars built into it. And there's really no evidence that the one in the footage has any kind of handlebars. If you pause it and you look close, it just looks like a board. So I'm not sure that that's what this was. Now, it's possible that it originally was one of those flexi racers and that it broke and that they just put a new board on top. Dad went out in the garage. Well, he's a high
It's a snow sled with wheels. Okay, that makes sense.
Like indentured servant do it or whatever, but just put a new board on top of it and they didn't put in the steering mechanism. Who knows? And it's hard to say because the flexi racers had a fixed back axle. I almost called it a truck, but it's not a truck because it doesn't turn. And then the front axle that was turned with the handlebars. We don't see the one in the footage ever turn, so we don't know for sure whether...
Yeah, well, man, the Argentinian president released the docs, just repeating what I've seen on Twitter, not sure if actually real. That's how I felt too. I read that also, and I was like, I do not know if that is real. I will wait until more information comes to light.
It was like that. Maybe both axles were fixed, and they only use it on their slide. Maybe it did actually have some turning capabilities that would make it a skateboard. Or maybe the method of turning doesn't count as far as whether it's a skateboard or not. I'll leave that up to you. But who knows, man? This guy was very rich and very powerful. He could have had this made. This might be the first ever skateboard made in a Nazi laboratory somewhere.
I feel like this is the closest to clickbait he has ever done.
Like it happened in France the next year. We don't really know for sure. And the only way we could verify and double check this, maybe we find his kids. They'd be real old now, so maybe their kids or grandkids, maybe it's in the attic or a garage somewhere, and they could check it out. But unfortunately, their dad was a horrible Nazi, and when he died, when he killed himself,
definitely clickbait.
He killed his whole family with him. He gave all the kids cyanide.
Oh my God.
So there's really no way to know exactly what this thing was. But to me, it really, really looks like a skateboard. But who knows? I'm hoping we find something a little bit earlier. Not so horrible. That would be great. But
what was his thumbnail?
Now,
I gotta see the thumbnail.
This may be a legitimate part of skateboard history. I'm not sure.
I think he's absolutely reaching with this.
Thank Fernando for
this is the biggest reach I've ever seen from him.
And I will put a link to that below.
I'm actually really surprised that he made this video.
Translate.
Like it's literally just them rolling on the slide.
Skateboard down their slide. Take a look at this.
Like when I see, I mean, I guess it does kind of look like a skateboard. When I see this, I just think they are on a wheeled thing. I don't think this is skateboarding. It's like he's very reaching.
I'm not sure. This is just what I found. I'd like to thank Fernando for sending that in. I appreciate it. And I will put a link to that below. It
literally is
Spanish,
a skateboard.
But you can use your translate function and get through it pretty well. So
I think it's a reach.
That's it.
There's wheels on anything. Like look throughout history. There's shit that looks like that. It's just wooden wheels. It doesn't really mean it's a skateboard. If they were standing on it, maybe he's got a little more. Could be a wheel dolly, yes. Like ever since the wheel was invented, there's some kind of flat
really
thing
weird,
with wheels.
One of a kind episode. There's
I don't know.
probably gonna
I
be
think
some weird stuff in the future. I'd like to do little news.
Look, he didn't go full clickbait on the thumbnail. He could have made that way more crazy. Nazi skateboard? He definitely could have made that crazier. It could have been a wheeled dolly, yeah. I mean, it literally could have been anything else. But, okay.